right, everybody. Welcome to the Half Hour Horror with me, Aaron McLean, and my co-host. Oh, hey, it's Chase. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going? Doing good. How about you?
Doing great, man. Hey, it's the last show of the year, 2024. It's been a good year for us.
It has been a great year. We started out, you started out like the show last year on Twitter Spaces. Now we're on 4 different platforms, getting great viewerships. And you know what? I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to the folks behind Block of Horror. Thank you, Aaron, for making this possible. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of the Block of Horror community, and just to watch it grow has just been absolutely amazing this year. And I can't wait to see how it goes and be a part of it next year.
Absolutely. We've been doing some really cool stuff. I really enjoy our Saturday chats, and everybody who tunes in has a little breakfast with us, or a little late afternoon lunch. We appreciate it, just for the love of horror and for the horror community. But today we're doing something fun. This is going to be our yearly tradition. This is how we wrap up the year. We're going to do a reading of a script I wrote pretty long time ago, because I love this character. I love Christmas movies, and I love Christmas horror. We are doing A Nightmare Before Christmas, A Nightmare on Elm Street Before Christmas. I forgot the title of my own thing. Yes, this is Freddy versus Santa Claus. Let's bring on Freddy Claus. Here he is. Oh, look at that Freddy Claus. He's mean. But can't do it alone every year. We got to bring on some guests. We got to have our friends join us, because there's more than one part to read in a script. In a table reading, you need more than one part. So first, I'm going to bring on a longtime friend of mine. I've known her over 20 years now, I think. But we met in Los Angeles making a movie. I was making a movie with her husband, Andy, and we just became great friends. She came to my wedding. It is Melissa Curtis. She's now a producer, playwright, a play director. Most recently, your play, The Porn Play, was in the LA Fringe Festival. That's and true. To rave reviews. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And yes, we have known each other for over 20 years, Aaron. We are getting old together, and it's fabulous. And I'm just thrilled to be here and be a part of this. I love horror. I've got my The Thing shirt on and my Santa earrings. I'm trying to rep like all sides, and just happy to be here.
All right. And of course, with us, an actor extraordinaire. We've seen him in a lot of stuff that Block of Horror has done. He is so gracious to join us and don his Freddy voice. We have Jesse Towns with us. Welcome.
How are we, my friends? I've been working on the on the growl, down here. Because usually I'm way up here, so I need to be down here,
I can't wait, man. If anything, this is one of those things, like, if anything, we're going to have some fun with it.
Yes.
What have you been working on, man? How has this year been treating you? I know it's been slow in the industry all around, but how have you been doing?
Good Lord. I will say it's been interesting, because I have been I was experiencing the same thing that everyone was experiencing for a while, but within the past couple months, it seems like things have picked up a little bit. I've gotten some good opportunities. Actually just booked a commercial that I'm going to be able to do like right before I fly off to Christmas. So I'm very excited about that. And had my first TV show come out this year. So yeah, I've been.
Congrats. What show was that?
It's called Wild West Chronicles.
So cool, man. That's awesome. Did you get to be a cowboy?
I did get to be a cowboy. I got to be a cowboy who was afraid of germs. So
hypochondriac cowboy.
Hypochondriac cowboy. How can you be afraid of germs when you're living in the Wild West? Who knows?
What?
That's why they call me an actor. That's why they call me an actor. Yeah. I was never told if it was believable or not, but that's why they call me an actor.
I love that. I often consider myself a little bit of a not a major hypochondriac, but like teetering on that edge where your brain's going, that's filthy, that's dirty, there's germs everywhere. And then you have a kid and you're like, well, that's been on the floor for 10 seconds. You just forget all about it.
Yep.
Well, today we're reading a little script. Here's how we're going to do it. I am going to read the parts in between and sing the songs, the action lines, if you will. Mel will be playing Elle and Mary, the female parts, and Chase is going to be our Santa Claus, and Jesse is going to play our Freddy. So I'm super excited to see how this goes. One year we're gonna film this. I swear to God. One year I just want to make this. I have the Freddy costume. Like, I mean, look at this. Come on, this is a mask. I could be wearing this right now, but I think it'd be stifling. I think you'd find me like 10 minutes into this being like, there's too much shit on my face. To the quota, I think you should leave.
Yeah.
There's too much shit on my face. I gotta take it off.
Take it off.
Yeah.
It's
So
funny.
we'll have Freddy
Didn't you
Claus
wear the full costume to go trick or treating with us once? I have a memory of that with our kids.
And parents would be like, "Can you scare my kid?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then like I'd look and he'd be pointing at like a 3-year-old who's like in his little pumpkin costume, and you're like, "No, jerk."
No.
And we would go around and I would be hanging out the car window being like, buckle up for safety, bitch. And like, like we'd go trick or treating, we'd go up to a house and they'd be like, wow, that's a great costume. And I'd look and I'd be like, fun size.
Shaming their candy.
Shaming their candy choices. Be like,
I love it.
You don't have any Twix, bitch.
I love it.
So
This is all my candy now.
Exactly.
Oh no. This is I love it. Everybody's got some fun antidotes for Freddy. So yeah, let's dive in. Here we go. I'm going to put up some ambiance while we do this. I think we can still hear everybody. There we go. And then test. I can hear you.
Test.
Let's
Test,
do
test.
this. Interior living room night. L, 35, a single mother, sits on the couch reading to her daughter, Mary, 5. Elle has a sadness in her eyes, but loves spending time with her daughter. Elle is sweet, comfy. Elle is in sweats, comfy. Mary is clad in cute pajamas and listens to her mother read to her.
In the morning, you might find you have nothing at all. Santa only brings presents to good children, I hear. Bad children beware because Krampus is near, and he'll snarl and screech and give you a scare in hopes you think twice before being naughty next year.
Elle and Mary smile and snarl, making Krampus noises as they finish the story. She closes the book laughing.
I've been good this year, right? You sure have. No Krampus this year. Can we read another? You want to read one more? Okay, go pick one out.
Mary runs to the bookshelf and looks for a moment. Elle stares off into space, sadness on her face. A photo near their couch shows a happy picture of her family. They all stand around Santa. Mary, her husband Greg, and herself, all smiling. It's better days. This is the first Christmas after her husband has passed. She almost doesn't notice Mary run up with a book.
Found one, Mommy.
Mary looks at her selection. It's a yearbook from her high school.
Oh, that's not a Christmas story, sweetheart. That's a yearbook. Well, can we read it anyway? It has lots of pictures.
Elle smiles. How can she say no? Mary climbs up onto the couch and snuggles in. Elle opens the book and looks at the old pictures of her high school.
This is where I went to school in Lakewood. These are all the kids in my class, my principal, my teachers.
They flip through the pages, smiling faces looking back. They turn the page and Elle stops.
Is that you, Mommy? Oh, no, that's my sister. Her name was Mary, too.
At the top of the page, we see in words, in memoriam. We realize that all the pictures on this page are of dead kids. There are 13 of them.
You have a sister? No, not anymore. She's gone.
She looks at her daughter. How much does she understand about death?
Is she with Daddy and Jesus? Yes.
Mary thinks for a moment.
In heaven? Yes. Am I going to go to heaven?
Elle is pained by this, but she smiles for her daughter.
Not for a very long time.
She fights tears and smiles at her daughter.
Good. I want to stay here with you.
Mary brushes off the sadness and hugs her mother. She whispers in her ear.
Mommy, I want to add something to my letter to Santa.
Elle laughs, breaking the tension.
Oh, baby. It's Christmas Eve. It's a little late to ask Santa for something else.
She sees the disappointment on Mary's face.
I tell you what, you can write his letter. You can write him your letter, and we will leave it next to the cookies, and Santa will save it for next year.
This seems like an acceptable solution. Cut to interior kitchen night. Cookies are plated and milk is poured. We follow the plate as it's brought to the dining room table. Mary sits at the table writing in crayon her letter to Santa.
No peeking, it's for Santa.
She folds the letter into thirds and puts it into an open envelope sitting on the table.
You lick it. It tastes yucky.
She holds up the envelope and Elle licks it and seals it and lays it next to Santa's plate of cookies.
Now run up and brush your teeth. I'll be up to tuck you in. Santa's on his way. Or Krampus.
She makes a monster face and growls. They both laugh as Mary runs upstairs. Cut to interior living room night. Begin montage. A needle drops a record. Christmas music starts to play. A fire in the fireplace. Presents are placed under the tree. A wine bottle's opened. End montage. Elle sits on the couch in the glow of the Christmas tree. All that's left to do is drink till she feels no more. The yearbook lies open next to her. She picks up the picture of her family, sadness in her eyes.
Merry fucking Christmas.
She downs the rest of her wine in a single gulp. Interior living room night. The record's blank, rotating silently. Mary is passed out on the couch, several bottles of wine later. The Christmas tree casts ominous shadows across the room. In the reflections of the Christmas ornaments, a dark figure can be seen walking towards Elle. A sharp metal claw reaches down to the record player and scratches the arm across the album, making a loud noise. The last few bars of the song begin again. I'm dreaming of a white. Elle wakes up with a start. Except for her, the room is empty. She looks around wary as the record finishes up and the room is filled with silence again. Elle is just about to settle down when a strange whirring noise is heard. It sounds like gears coming from nearby the Christmas tree. Elle slowly walks towards the tree as the whirring grows louder. She looks on confused as a little wind-up toy walks out from under the tree. Elle stares at it, perplexed. She reaches down, picks it up. It's an ugly little man in a red and green striped sweater, wearing a fedora. In one of his tiny hands is a glove with knives for fingers. She stares at it, a growing concern on her face. She suddenly sees in the reflection of the Christmas ornament the same man standing behind her, his claws, hand reaching for her. She spins around in fear, dropping the toy. Nobody's there. Elle relaxes for a second, but glances upward. Is Mary okay? She runs up the stairs. We do not follow her. We hear her open her daughter's door. There's a long pause.
Mary? Mary, where are you?
Elle runs back down the stairs, but suddenly the music starts to play again. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Mary stops in her tracks and peers around the bottom of the steps. There's a man standing in the living room, illuminated only by the Christmas lights. It's Freddy Krueger. Elle is frozen in terror. There's a hint of recognition. She slowly begins to creep back up the stairs in fear.
You're not real.
Suddenly, Freddy's behind her. It's not Freddy's face, though. Instead, it's the face of Elle's sister Mary on Freddy's body. Long claw marks cut across her face. One of her eyes is missing.
Your sister believed in me.
Elle screamed and almost falls down the stairs. Sister Mary advances menacing, threatening Elle with her claws. Mary's face bursts into flame, and as the skin burns away, the real scarred face of Freddy Krueger is revealed. Elle stumbles on the final step and falls to the ground. She scrambles to her feet and runs to the front door. She flings it open and stops in her tracks. Instead of the normal vista, Elle stares into the depths of a dark boiler room. Flames and steam burst from between the pipes and chains. She's not in reality.
Oh, the weather outside is frightening.
Freddy slams the door shut. Elle backs away from him. He slashes at her with his razor glove. She's cornered in the living room. She sees her wine glass and grabs it. Cracking against the end table, she stabs at Freddy with the sharp glass. Freddy motions towards the Christmas tree, and a string of light shoots off it and wraps itself around Elle's arm, restraining her. More Christmas lights fly off the tree, wrapping around her body, lifting her arms up as she falls to her knees, hanging by her arms, tangled in Christmas lights.
Hang in there.
Freddy stands before the incapacitated Elle menacingly. He looks at the Christmas tree, admiring it. He walks over to the plate of Christmas cookies and eats one. He pours the milk out callously. He finally lands on Mary's letter to Santa and slowly picks it up. He tears it open with his claws. Elle is fuming with fear and anger. Freddy begins to read the letter.
Oh, dear Santa, I know it's too late to ask for anything, but if you know Jesus, could you tell him to say hi to my daddy and Aunt Mary in heaven? Jesus? Santa Claus? Oh, you're lying to your kid, Elle. I bet you haven't even told her about good old Freddy.
Are you going to kill me?
Oh, you're a little too old for me, Elle, but your daughter? Oh, she's just right.
What did you do to my daughter?
Nothing. Yet. These are your dreams. I was able to get in because we have history.
Elle looks at the yearbook on the couch. It opens to its own and flies to the page labeled janitorial staff, and we see the picture of Fred Krueger before his burning.
But I can't introduce myself to little Mary unless you bring her to me.
Freddy walks around Elle, flashing his claws. He bends down next to Elle and screams,
"Dream about your daughter!"
Elle shakes her head. She won't. Elle is fighting with all her might. Suddenly, there's a sound from the fireplace. Freddy looks up surprised. Elle looks on, praying it's not Mary. There's a cloud of dust. A shape comes in, climbing out of the chimney, rising to its feet. We can see it's Santa Claus.
Yes, Virginia.
Santa stands looking at the scene, perplexed but stern.
This ends now, you wretched man. Your evil ways end tonight.
Freddy looks at Elle, surprised.
Oh, looks like you have more than sugar plums dancing in your head.
Step away from her, Frederick. You're coming with me.
Freddy stands up and opens his arms.
Santa! I asked for a bicycle back in '63. It didn't come. I just never got over that.
You were on the naughty list.
Oh, yes. I've been naughty.
A tiny hand reaches out and tugs on Santa's jacket. Santa turns around surprised to see a little girl, her eyes slashed out of their sockets. Next to her, another little girl covered in blood. Santa is surrounded by dead children, victims of Santa is stunned. He turns around just as Freddy's claws sink into Santa's white beard. The children disappear. Elle begins to scream. Ah! Freddy shoots her a look, and Christmas ribbon covers her mouth, muffling her. Santa's beard slowly turns from white to red as blood seeps from his neck. Freddy rips his claws out, dropping Santa to the floor.
Merry fucking Christmas.
Freddy turns to Elle as Santa lays dying. Freddy removes his fedora and puts on Santa's bloody, stained red hat.
Now, bring your daughter to Freddy Claus.
As Santa lays on the ground with his last effort, he pulls a bell from his coat and throws it to the side. Freddy walks over and cuts the ribbon from Elle's mouth. Unseen by Freddy, the bell Santa threw begins to glow.
Don't hurt my daughter.
The bell slowly opens up like a flower, and darkness pours out of it like smoke. Freddy's too busy taunting Elle to see.
Hurt? Oh, not yet. I just want to scare her half to death.
As the shape begins to grow in the darkness, we see horns emerge from the shadows. A hoof steps out, then a human foot.
And when she goes back to school, she'll have tales of the boogeyman to share with all her little friends. And that's when the fun begins. Mary will be the last. Bring her here!
Elle notices Krampus standing behind Freddy. This is a dark, skeletal goat-like creature, one hoofed leg and one human leg, long fingers and large horns atop an animal skull for a face. A long tongue droops from the gnarled skull. Freddy catches her gaze and turns around.
What the fuck?
Krampus leaps on Freddy, knocking him to the floor. With his concentration broken, the Christmas lights fall off of Elle. She scrambles to her feet, watching the scrum on the floor. Freddy plunges his claws into Krampus' side repeatedly. Krampus tears at Freddy's chest, ripping into his sweater and flesh. The fight pauses for a moment in a grapple. Freddy looks up to see Elle standing there with the yearbook.
You killed my sister.
She smashes his face with the book repeatedly. Freddy, in rage, kicks Krampus off for a moment and lunges at Elle. Krampus reacts and digs his claws into Freddy's chest, pulling him back into submission. Krampus uses all of his strength and pries Freddy's chest and ribcage open, revealing his scarred, beating heart. Elle sees her chance and grabs the star from atop the Christmas tree. She turns to act, but Freddy wrestles his right arm free and swipes at her, catching her shirt on his claws, barely missing her skin. She stares at him defiantly. The record player suddenly kicks on again, the last few bars of the song. I'll be home for Christmas. Freddy grabs her with his left hand and pulls Elle closer. She plunges the star into Freddy's heart. He smiles as flames burst from his chest, engulfing him as he burns to ashes. The song plays, if only in my dreams. As the song ends, Krampus stands there smoldering, unharmed by the ethereal fire. Elle stares at him wearily. She picks up the star from the ground and puts it back on the tree and steps back to admire it. She thinks for a moment. This is her dream, isn't it?
Santa can't be dead on Christmas.
Santa suddenly gets up from the floor, good as new.
And Krampus, thanks. You need to go now. You're creepy as hell.
Obediently, Krampus dissolves into smoke and back inside the bell. Santa picks up the bell and puts it in his pocket.
Santa, I know this is all in my head, but what if he comes back?
I'll always be there for those in need of Christmas spirit.
Santa lifts his sack over his shoulder and heads to the fireplace. He places his finger on the side of his nose, winks at Elle, and sucked up the chimney. Suddenly, a voice from behind Elle.
Mommy?
Interior, living room morning. Elle wakes up. Mary is standing next to her, shaking her.
Mommy, wake up! Santa came!
Looking around, Elle sees the room is full of presents. More than before. Mary hugs her mother. Elle looks at her shirt. It's torn where Freddy slashed at her.
Merry Christmas, Mommy. Merry Christmas, sweetheart.
Elle is in a daze, but she hugs her daughter tight. We travel down the presents to reveal a small, wind-up Freddy hidden beneath the tree. End. The credits are played, wrapping paper that tear away to reveal the names. There we go.
There we go.
Well done, everyone.
Great job, everyone.
I am so impressed. Great job on that Freddy voice, Jesse. I know you were saying you're like I don't know if I got that, and it was like
I did a lot of YouTube digging last night. Looked through everything I could. I actually did in preparation rewatch A New Nightmare and had forgotten how fucking fun that movie is.
So good.
I love that.
And
Love it.
Chase, I love that Santa could also be like Christopher Reeve's Superman. Hello, chum. Dun, dun, dun. Like it was such a regal, like very very superhero voice. I loved it, which fit very well. Really fun stuff, man.
I was originally thinking of trying to pull off David Harbour and Violet Night, but I don't sound that cool. So
I watched that again last night because my wife had never seen it, and that movie
great.
is rad.
really
It's so
good.
fun. Yeah, I love that.
John Leguizamo is always a joy to watch, and him in that movie is so good, and how he dies at the end, spoiler alert, is freaking amazing. So good. I love that movie so much because it nails all the fun of Die Hard, Home Alone, just so many great nods to other great Christmas movies, and they just crushed it. Super
It's a fun origin though for Santa too. Like it's one of the more fun origins to see on screen of where Santa might come from. So
yeah, he's a great depiction of Santa. And David Harbour kills it in that role. He's great. It's really fun. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Christmas movies. Can be horror. We talked about Christmas horror movies last week, but since it's the end of the year, our last episode of the year, the two things I want to talk about. We can start with Christmas movies, but then I also want to talk about the year in horror, 2024 as it's been. Jesse, what are you a big horror fan? Or are you casual horror fan? What's your vibe for this?
Huge horror fan. Horror fan. I would say so. I actually have been still too frightened to rewatch. I've rewatched it only maybe 3 times over the course of my life. But when I was maybe 11 or 12, I saw the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, and it scared the living shit out of me. And I still think the scariest movies I've ever seen. Like that's one of the things that viscerally, when I think about it, gets me freaked out.
Naughty. Yeah.
Dude, all of it. The elk and like just the bells, all like that's such a good play on him where you just hear him coming. It's so good, dude. And then I'm trying to think of some of the other I mean, this is ridiculous, and it's not necessarily Christmas, but Thanksgiving is always really fun.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is a great one. Those are probably my favorites in terms of Christmas movies, unless we go non-horror, and now we're talking Jingle All the Way and the Santa Claus. But
I mean, there's so many good holiday movies. The Christmas movie as a genre is just, there's so many good ones. I think A Christmas Story is one of the best movies just like ever
so
made.
good.
Not just, it's so
there's
good.
a reason TBS plays it for 24 hours nonstop, you know?
I mean, I don't blame them. It's fantastic stuff. Mel, what about you? What is your go-to Christmas movie? Can be horror, cannot be horror. What's your go-to Christmas movie?
I mean, for horror, I love Black Christmas for a horror Christmas movie. When I first saw that, like, it blew my mind, the ending and everything. I was like, this is so amazing. And so we went through a pretty big watching like scary Christmas movies, but Black Christmas and I think Silent Night, Deadly Night. Is that the one? Was that the one you were just talking about?
Yeah.
I love those. I just watched Heretic, which was really interesting for me, having come from Utah. It's not a Christmas movie, but as a former, Utah resident, the play on the Mormonism was really fun for me. Now, I don't love gore, but The Substance kicked my ass this year. I was not expecting that. And I guess it's not really a horror movie, but it's pretty horrific. So that I'm going to throw in there.
It's interesting because somebody was asking like, what was the best horror film this year? And I said The Substance, and they're like, I should watch it. And I was like, yeah, but I will warn you. I don't know what kind of horror fan you are. It is an adult dose of what the fuck. By
the end, you're like, what am I watching? I love that. We have kids, so we do all the traditional Christmas stuff. I love Christmas Story. I love the Jim Carrey Disney Christmas Carol, the animated one. I fucking love that. He does so great at that. And we always watch, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, Die Hard, all the like real standard ones. We watched the old Grinch last night with our kids. I mean, you gotta span the gamut and watch them all month pretty much.
Did you guys ever see? Nobody saw this. Did you see the Guy Pearce Christmas Carol?
Oh, it was horrific. It was crazy dark. There was like rape in that and stuff. It was really. Like, what am I watching?
I've never even heard of it.
Guy Pearce plays Scrooge, and it is the darkest rendition.
It's very, very dark.
He is the biggest piece of shit, but it's so real and so good because you're just like, and it's so
not
well
a Christmas
acted.
Movie.
There's a scene where they're like, here's what an evil piece of shit you are. The second spirit takes him on this like, the tour of the bad things he's done, and he goes to this mine that he's invested in, and he's like, yeah, well, I don't run the mine. He's like, yeah, but you push for it to do well, and there's this mine collapse with little kid arms stuck in the rubble, and like a factory fire, and like children getting stuck in machinery, and like
they went way off book for this. Like, we read A Christmas Carol as a family as well, and I'm like, this is not the book, but they went dark.
But I give them so much credit for not being the same thing you've seen every time, and being as real to like what an evil billionaire would be like, and I love that. I love that, and I just think he just crushed it. It was so scary and so interesting, and had like actual redeeming qualities at the end. Like his redemption arc was earned, as opposed to like, well, I got freaked out for a little bit, and it's like in the original stories, it's just like a scared straight episode. He's like, well, I don't want to go to hell.
You into be generous. Yeah.
It's a true meaning. I love it. What about you, Chase? I mean, we talked about it last week, so I know some of your favorite Christmas movies, but let the people know again. What are your favorite go-to holiday?
So yeah, in my household we do watch like the Home Alone movies, A Christmas Story, the Jim Carrey Grinch, but an annual watch is like what both of you guys mentioned, Silent Night, Deadly Night. We watch Black Christmas, another fun one, Better Watch Out. One of that we're going to probably be watching for now on, also added, is Terrifier 3, which was a great Christmas movie.
We ate well as horror fans. This year was a great year for horror. Terrifier 3, The Substance, incredible.
Long Legs,
Smile 2. I know not everybody loved it. I like Smile 2. I thought it was cool.
I thought it was great.
I like Smile. I think the whole,
Abigail.
Abigail was pretty fun.
Was fun.
That was fun.
I go back. I actually like. I always kind of do this thing when I'm watching movies where I'm like, does it work? But also I need to remember that I was like wrapped at attention the entire time and enjoyed it. And that was how I felt with Smile 2, because spoiler alert, the third act is all not real. And I'm kind of like, does that fucking like work? But then I'm like, but I was fucking engrossed the whole time. So yeah, it definitely worked.
It only works if it tracks for the rest of the movie, because I always bring this up with the movie High Tension, where the same gimmick. The end, they're like, haha, it was all fake, and you're like,
right.
Well, wait, you showed us a bunch of stuff that if it was fake couldn't
not make sense. High Tension was
yeah, High Tension doesn't make a lick of sense if that twist is real.
It makes me so sad because I love that killer. I love that killer.
It's a great movie up until if you just cut the last 5 minutes out of that movie, it's super solid. It doesn't need a twist.
When she ends, just in the movie, once she starts bashing the killer with a barbed wire 2x4.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
it did not need a twist. And they were just like, oh yeah, but twist. And then you're like, oh, what? Wait a second. There's literally a scene where her and another person are trapped in a room while he's trying to bust through the door.
Yeah. What's going on?
What is going on now? None of it makes any more sense.
See, I first saw this movie when I was about 15 or 16. The twist blew my mind. I was like, this is so amazing. And now rewatching as an adult, I'm like, what the hell? Like, this makes no sense.
We had Cuckoo came out, Alien Romulus, which I have issues with Alien Romulus, but hats off for more good.
I liked it. You know how I feel with Alien movies. I liked it.
Yeah. I think it's the best version of what it could have been. I hate anything that has Prometheus involved with it. Sorry, Mike out there. And so its tie-in to Prometheus pissed me off. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? If the executive producer Ridley Scott said you got to do it, you did it the best way you could. So I thought it was pretty brilliant for that respect. Really fun stuff.
I thought I have two questions if I may, and one comment.
Yeah.
The comment is Cuckoo. I wasn't super into Cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I ended up not being super into it. But I do love. I love what's his face. What's his name?
Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens. I love Dan Stevens. I love Dan Stevens since The Guest. Ever since The Guest, I've loved Dan Stevens.
I love that movie. Yeah, that movie is fantastic.
Yeah, that movie's awesome.
We get two great performances from Dan Stevens this year, because he was in Cuckoo. He was also in Abigail, which he was great. And well, hell, he was in Godzilla and Kong. He was in Godzilla and Kong.
God, he was.
That guy runs the gamut, dude.
He's getting around.
He's the big monster dentist.
His agent's working overtime.
Oh my gosh, yeah. A Violent Nature came out, which a lot of people liked.
Wait, which one was A Violent Nature?
That's the one that was like, it's the walking movie where walking. Yeah,
where I liked that, except for when he was walking there was one scene where he, like, half the movie's him walking, and there was one scene where it was like 10 minutes long, and I was just like, all right, okay.
Man, I forgot to check all the comments, but like everybody was like super excited about the show. So
yay.
Hell yeah.
Good job, everybody.
Good job.
I was so engrossed. I should have been throwing these up while we were going.
But you were reading too, so
I was busy, and I had my glove on because I needed that to get into it. So I'm using my mouse with the wrong hand while I'm gloving with the there. Late Night with the Devil came out this year. That
Great movie,
super
really
fun.
Good.
I loved the premise of that, and I thought it was very well acted. I thought it was pretty great.
So
you had Oddity, Oddity was really good.
I was just going to ask, I haven't seen Oddity yet, but I've been hearing it's amazing. Did you guys like it?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Really good.
Stop motion, I thought was really creepy. It needed better payoff, but it's really cool. Really, really cool stop motion. I love that art alone. Anything stop motion, I'm down for. And to put it into a horror movie the way they did was very effective. One thing I want to say about Late Night with the Devil is that is now my go-to point to when people are like, How do you break the rules of a convention right? Because they have a convention. We are seeing it as a recorded, like, found footage. Well, how do we tell the rest of the story? Something that a lot of found footage movies don't know what to do with. Aha, if it's in black and white, we can do whatever we want. If we're going behind the scenes, we're going to be handheld and we're going to be black and white. If we're going to back to the story, we're going to be in color and in the diegetic television screen. That is how you do that right. And it worked because they set the rules and they followed the rules. And then when they really wanted to freak you out, they broke the rules. And that's smart, because if you just willy-nilly like showed the story, showed what happened behind the scenes, and we'd be like, wait, how did we see that? It doesn't matter, because they set a rule down to show make it work. And that to me is like, that's like good film school stuff right there. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
Absolutely. I think this is maybe a complete tangent. I'd put this in the thriller world. It was also a PG rated movie, but I thought it was fucking incredible. Have you guys seen Conclave?
No, what was that?
No, I've wanted to, though.
It is so good. I just watched it last night. Absolutely one of the best movies of the year, in my opinion. It's so
It's like
awesome.
Rafe Fiennes is in everything this year.
He's literally, he's so
really
good.
is.
Like,
Yeah.
He's in everything. And like, he got all roided up for his return movie. Like, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him, but I was like, holy cow, Rafe Fiennes, what's going on?
An almost 60-year-old man should not be that jacked. Like,
Right?
I mean,
Crazy.
steroids are an amazing thing. We had the comedy Destroy All Neighbors. Sexy Nuns were hot. Immaculate coming back. One of my, like, a favorite subgenre of mine is horned up nuns, and like you get Immaculate, The Devils, which if y'all haven't seen The Devils, holy shit. The Devils is an incredible film from the 70s that is just, it's this gigantic scope epic. And it's Oliver Reed, and he is just sauced up the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Sauced up Oliver Reed and a bunch of super thirsty nuns. And the scope of this thing is just so big. You're like, they built an entire French village for this movie. Like, they didn't go find, like, that's obviously a set. They built the whole thing.
They built it.
And you just can't believe they built this giant cathedral. There's hundreds of extras all caterwauling about this like witch hunt for this priest. It is a great movie. Immaculate, Veronica, which is a Paul Verhoeven thirsty nun movie. Which
Ooh, then it's probably extra thirsty and dirty.
So filthy.
I feel like there was a
One-
period of time where there were like exploitation horror movies that were like all about the nuns. Like, I feel like there was definitely
that's like a big
nunsploitation is
fetish.
real.
nunsploitation, yeah.
One that
Elka
really
says you should watch this as a double feature with Immaculate should be watched as a double feature with The First Omen. Very true.
That's what I was
Okay.
gonna say. First Omen was probably my biggest pleasant surprise of the year, because thing is, I went in with super low expectations. How many times, everyone, have we seen a movie that was a prequel or a sequel that came out decades after it, and it was just a cheap cash grab, and all they did was just nostalgia bait. I went in this expecting that. I was like, this is gonna suck. This is just gonna be a cheap cash grab, but whatever. I have AMC A-list. I'm not paying extra for it. But I went in and I was just blown away just how great this actually was, and it told a great story within the universe, but it wasn't over reliant on, hey, remember this guy from the first movie? Like, I thought it was fantastic. My only thing that ticked me on, I got angry when I watched it because I was crushing it. A+. And then they get to the part where they find out the mother, and I'm expecting there to be a jackal, as what they established in the first movie. Spoiler alert, it's not a jackal, which I'm like, well, obviously, I guess it can't be, but like, I was like, damn it, that's the whole thing I was waiting for. That was the reason I tuned in. Because like you said, I had very low bar. I was like, well, if I get to see a jackal birth the baby, I guess I'll watch this movie. And then they like totally surprised me with a great movie. But I was like, yeah, but I set my bar. My bar was jackal birth the baby. And you didn't do that, so I'm in a lurch now. I don't know if it's good. I don't know what to do, but I give it high marks for definitely being really scary and doing a great job with the acting. They did a good job.
I feel like with horror movies, the less I know going in, the better. For me personally, like I love to not know anything. I don't want to hear a damn thing. One of my best movie going experiences was forever ago when I first moved to LA. We had a baby. We didn't know anybody here. And one of my coworkers was like, I'll watch your baby, go to a movie. And we're like, okay. So, this is like 2002. This is a long time ago. And we go to the movie theater and there's this movie there called The Ring. And I knew nothing about The Ring. I thought it was about a ring on a finger. So we walked into that movie knowing nothing and it kicked my ass. It was so great. It was so scary for the time, and knowing nothing just made it that much better. And it still to this day was like one of my best like actual movie going experiences in the theater because I didn't know anything and it totally blew me away.
That scared the living shit out of me when I was like 13 years old. And to me, it's still like the scariest PG-13.
So good. We showed our kids and our kids were like, oh my God. Like, I love scaring my kids now that they're older.
Also, I had forgotten that Brian Cox was in that movie.
Right?
Forgotten that he was the lighthouse dude. But I went into that movie and I got super spooked. But right when you get to that closet jump scare, it's like that's when I'm like, oh, this movie's fucking horrifying.
That is one of the best films I ever saw in a theater because it was packed opening weekend in Boston, the big theater room, and people were losing their shit, and it got to the point where I was just having so much fun turning around and watching them go. A complete stranger sitting next to me jumped into my lap at one point when Samara puts her hand on the TV and then pushes her hand out of the TV, the woman screamed and climbed into my lap out of sheer fear. And I was like, this is the best horror movie experience. It still to this day is one of the best horror movie experiences I've had in a theater because people were just having the craziest time. I've told the story in the past about the prank that I pulled after this movie. Is the best prank I've ever pulled. We go back to our dorm rooms. One of our a dorm room, one of the rooms full of girls is terrified. They unplug their phone, they unplug their TV, they put it out in the hall. They will not have that in their room. We're upstairs, and I immediately go on the internet because I was early on that shit. And I was like, beep, bop, boop, bop, boop. And I go and download the video from The Ring because they had a trailer that was literally just that video. So I download the video. Our buddy comes in and he goes, guys, I'm on the news. He's like, I was walking past news cameras and they interviewed me. I'm being an idiot on the news. We should watch it. And we're like, okay, 11 o'clock, we're going to watch this shit. And I go, we're going to do even better. We take the VHS tape, we put the Ring tape on there. We heat seal it back into the VHS tape. We go downstairs. We calm the roommates down. We're like, let's put the TV back up. Let's plug the phone back in. Our buddy Jeff comes in and he goes, not Jeff Prosser, different Jeff. Jeff comes in and he goes, oh, guys, I was on the news being an idiot. Here's the VHS tape. He was not at the movie with us. He's a completely outside party. They think it's safe. He unwraps the VHS tape, puts it in there. He's like, I want to tape it. They're like, okay. They turn it on. We're watching it. He comes on the news, and the second he starts being like, da, 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 boop, I hit play. The tape starts playing. The Ring pops up. They start losing their fucking minds. My buddy, my roommate's in the hallway with his phone. Beep, bop, boop. The phone starts to ring. They grab the phone, chuck it out of the room, ripping it out of the wall. We start dying. And then they just start wailing on us, just beating the shit out of us, kicking us out of the room. TV, phone in the hall. Good night. Get the hell out of here. We're never talking to you guys.
That's awesome.
Oh, the most elaborate, best prank ever.
That's a great prank. Kind of mean though, but pretty good.
I mean, for The Ring, what else am I gonna do? Oh.
I'm going to tell you guys, if you ever have the chance, please see something with Aaron so you can watch Aaron react to things. That's my favorite, audience member. If you can go the Magic Castle or something when somebody's doing a sleight of hand or magic or horror, watching Aaron react to things is my favorite. My 20 years of friendship, I will say that's one of my favorite things in the history of the world.
When we went to the Magic Castle, a magician literally told me, he's like, it's more fun to watch you than it is to do the trick because you're in the front row going, no fucking way.
Yeah, Aaron is so into it. He's like a 5-year-old. That's amazing.
I get so into it when magic's happening.
That's how my mom is whenever we go to hibachi when they're doing all this stuff. My mom's like,
she's like, who wants to catch a shrimp? Ooh, me.
I'll catch it. I'll catch it.
Love
The
it.
train with the onion. She's like, choo choo, choo choo.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
I just stabbed myself with my own Freddy glove.
You good? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
They're-
bleeding, but
they're
I just
plastic,
I
right?
laughed so hard. No, this is the real deal. This one's like
Oh
an actual.
no, Aaron!
This one's like a real
Jesus.
knife. My plastic
oh my
one's
God, be
back
careful.
there.
Maybe we're the
Christ,
plastic
Crazy.
Oh.
That's so
Yeah,
pretty.
you could stab a meatball with this one.
one. Do that. I was
Who's
gonna say,
excited
we
for the
got-
new Nosferatu?
Oh my
Very
gosh,
excited.
day after Christmas, it's happening. I'm so stoked.
Very excited.
See,
Very
that's why I'm
excited.
thankful my family does all their stuff Christmas Eve. And
Mm.
like pretty much Christmas Day, we like me and my partners just go over to my parents' house and have dinner.
Watching you worm.
Christmas
I
Christmas
wish it had
morning.
come out for Halloween though, kind of. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just wish it had come
But
out.
hey, it gives me something to do Christmas morning. It gives me time to kill before I go over to my parents' house for dinner. So
Nice. Nice. No, we're super excited. I was going to tell you too, we had a really cool, just to circle back real quick. We got to go see a screening of The Exorcist at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood last year.
Ooh.
And before he died, William Friedkin was actually there. He was 1 billion years old and he got to come out and talk to the audience before the screening. My daughter works for Warner Brothers, so we got like a special deal. And we were in I'd never seen it in the theater before. And the people in the theater with us were about our age. And some were older and they'd never seen it. We were sitting next to people that had never seen The Exorcist, that were seeing it for the first time at the famous Chinese theater in Hollywood. Amazing. One of my favorite, like people were just watching, like, women were screaming in the audience. People were getting sick. It was amazing. So I can't speak more to like, go see movies in the theater. Please get out of your house. Go see movies in the theater. Seeing them with an audience just elevates the experience by 1,000-fold. So sorry, I didn't mean to
Well,
take it back to that, but it was so
Oh,
cool.
no,
It was
no.
so cool.
I love that. I got to see 2 years ago. I got to go see The Shining projected on
Nice.
35 millimeter in a theater, and they ruined the movie. So it's the first time I had ever seen The
Wow.
Shining, one of my favorite films.
But they didn't like it?
It was a comedy. Jack Nicholson's a fucking Muppet in that movie. Everyone else is acting like a human, and Jack Nicholson's like, "Give me the bat, Wendy. Give me the bat." He's like
I
a
guess
Muppet.
that's true.
He is so over the top, which when I saw the movie, that was terrifying. To watch it in a room full of people, they're cracking up and they're laughing every time he comes on screen.
Interesting.
When he's like, "I wouldn't hurt you, Denny," and everybody's like, like
Aw, that's a bummer.
everybody started
that makes me
cracking
sad.
up, and
Yeah.
it ruined
I
the
s-
movie. I was like, "No."
Oh, that sucks.
there's a locally owned theater in my city that showed it a couple months ago. I went to a screening of it, and see, it was the exact opposite reaction. Everyone was
Good.
like,
Good.
so
Good.
I
I'm
guess
glad
it just
people
depends
still-
on the people,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think I saw it with some people who had never seen it before, and that was their way to cope with the horror, or maybe they just thought it was stupid. I don't know. I thought it was a great experience to see it, but it was literally the first time I ever watched it. And I was like, oh, he really is playing this like to 12 and a half, and everybody else is at a top 10. Like all the performances in that movie are great, but he is taking what they're giving him and doubling it in return, which is over the top. But that's scary as hell because, man, I like, oh my God, like who,
Yeah.
who does
I mean,
that?
talking about Smile 2, they put his son in it solely
Yeah.
so he could do the psychopath smile, which Jack Nicholson created in that fucking movie. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I read The Shining over the summer, and then I rewatched the movie, and the book is fucking incredible. It's so
Yeah.
Right.
Classic Stephen King.
and I was like, because one of the things that Stephen King didn't like about the movie was he was like, there's no real arc for Jack Nicholson's character in that in the movie, but in the book, it's an arc where he's trying to redeem himself and then just goes absolutely fucking bonkers.
wow.
And I did kind of feel like he was in the movie. He starts out pretty like bonkers and then just gets more bonkers. You know what I mean? Like I do feel like there wasn't as much of an arc in the movie as there was in the book.
Yeah, because that's
It's hard
what
to
Stephen,
capture everything.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
yeah, because that's what Stephen King said. He said he wouldn't have chosen Jack Nicholson because
Oh, really?
you would expect him to go bonkers.
Yeah.
Because he said,
Mhm.
especially with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which he's phenomenal in, but
I love that movie.
you know, he plays that really over exaggerated kind of kind of character.
Mhm.
He does it really well. I mean, but that's what you hired Jack Nicholson to do. The other problem is when Jack Nicholson came out in The Shining, he was famous, but he wasn't Jack Nicholson. He wasn't the unescapable star power of Jack Nicholson. He was a
Mhm.
name. People knew who he was. He had been in Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces. He had been in some really big films. He was Oscar nominated at this point.
He
But
had just won an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
exactly. So like he was the hot shit, but it isn't like our generation has seen The Shining when it's Jack Nicholson from The Shining and all these other movies and the Joker and this and that. You can't escape him as being this gigantic star. And at that point, certainly he was one of the biggest stars around, but it wasn't like post Shining or post Joker Jack Nicholson, which is hard to
Right.
remove yourself from contextually.
That's crazy. I liked Dr. Sleep too. I wasn't expecting to like Dr. Sleep, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty scary.
That
Some
was
pretty graphic scenes
fantastic.
in that. Yeah.
That took
stuff.
me. I actually just recently watched it for the first time this year because I had been putting it off, and then finally I was like, I'll just watch it. And I was like, oh my god, this is so good! It's so good.
Yeah, I really liked it. But yeah, Nosferatu though, Christmas Day or day after, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, was this? I could be thinking about last year, but there was a movie and I can't remember the fucking name. I think it was a Spanish movie, and it was about, you know what I'm talking about? Was that this year? Yes,
That was last year.
Oh, what was it called? It's that one.
When Evil Lurks.
Where Evil Lurks.
Yes.
Yeah, the
That movie was that was my favorite movie of last year. Between that and Evil Dead Rise, Where Evil Lurks was Evil Lurks was fantastic. So freaking crazy.
so hard to watch.
Yeah, that was a brutal one. I was blown away by how stark and bleak it was, but also by how jarring it would get you, because like you just never expected it to happen when it would, and it like wouldn't tease things very much. Like suddenly it's just like boom, axe to your face, and you're like, oh, whoa, dog attack to a 4-year-old. You're like, no, whoa, movie. I wasn't prepared.
That's when that movie got me, because like I think after watching so many horror movies over these past years, I've kind of become desensitized to it. So when people are like, oh, it's so scary, it's so visceral, like all the little lingos they like to use, I was like, that's bullshit. And so I turned it on, and once it got to the dog attacking the 4-year-old, I was like, oh my god! Like,
well, I think that's one of the reasons why Substance was so well received by the horror community and by everybody, because it was yes, it's like, this is so gory and stuff like that, but it's in a way we've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like it was such crazy body stuff that it was just like, and when they do the monster reveal at the very end and then there's still 15 minutes left, oh, it's pitch perfect.
I loved that movie. It was one of those ones I was watching in a movie theater and couldn't believe that I was in the theater with other humans that were strangers, because it was awkward to watch with strangers. This is how I know I'm loved. Many ways, but when a movie comes out and I start getting texts, I just saw the most fucked up thing ever. You need to go see it right now. I got texts from so many people. Dave Willis texts me, my brother texts me, strangers start texting me. People I got maybe 10, 15, 20 texts of people just being like, Aaron, I saw the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. It made me think of you. And I'm like, aw. And then I have to go see this movie. So I went on a Sunday night to go see this movie. There's 6 people in the theater, and it is so awkward. Because everybody starts looking around being like, well, we gonna watch this together? And it's like, yeah, strap in. And like there was like a family there, and it was like adult children with their parents, and the parents were like, we gotta go, and the kids were like, you sit your ass down, you're watching this movie. And they made their mom stay and watch this movie. At the end, she's like, I just didn't know they did that. I just didn't know that they could make movies like that. I just like, what?
Poor mom is traumatized.
She was traumatized.
See, when that movie came out, I called my mother. I was like, hey, I didn't know it was going to be like as gory as it was. I just called my mom. I was like, hey, there's this new movie with Demi Moore. They're saying it's her comeback role. You want to go see it? So she looked up the trailer. She was like, it looks decent, but I'll pass. And then I went in that opening Friday night, when I got out of the movie, I called my mom. I was like, "Yeah, I'm glad I didn't take you to this."
Oh my God.
I would have
I imagine.
been so awkward sitting there with you watching this.
Movies I don't want to watch with my parents. Check.
Check mark.
So good though. I mean, this must have made Screaming Mad George so proud to see like gooey body horror still rocking it out there. I am so into. I'm so into like the Society, which if you guys haven't seen Society, like that is a spiritual handshake with the substance as being like this. Suddenly you're in this moment that's so gnarly, but also bizarrely comedic, where you're just like, did you just do a fart joke while you were absorbing the pour? Just like the shunting. You can't be ready for the shunting.
I haven't even heard of this. This is what movie is this?
Oh, okay. So Society is incredible.
Oh, you're in for
movie.
a treat.
I haven't even heard of this.
Okay, so it's from the 80s. This boy lives with his parents. His parents are super rich. He lives in like Malibu. And he's like, man, something's off with my family. I just don't know what it is. All the rich people kind of suck. I'm more in line with the, the bellhops and the caddies. I like hanging out and smoking weed with them. But then he finds this tape. And on the tape, he hears his parents and his sister doing some unmentionable stuff. And he starts going to the cops, and the cops are like, you're full of shit, kid. Nobody believes you. Then people start disappearing. And he's like, I think my parents are killing people. And like, I think there's like a cult maybe. And they're like, well, you're crazy, kid. Of course, the cops are into it. And then we get to the reveal. And in this, it's like the rich have always fed off the poor. And this movie takes that to a literal place that I will not spoil for you, because it's not just nom 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 nom. That's not cannibalism. It's the substance level fucked up, mind-blowingly weird. The shunting, and that's the ceremony where they just start. Oh my God, it's out of control.
Body horror in the 80s is like awesome. So that's
yeah.
Great.
It's one of the best, because most of the movie is like a mystery, and just when you're like, is this movie going to pay off? The shunting. And you're
it pays off. Love that.
Yeah.
Pays off hard. Big shout out to everybody listening in the theater. We got 10 people in there right now rocking it out. A bunch of people chatting on YouTube, people on X hitting us up. New listeners, Bronson said he just came across our feed, wants to check it out. He's throwing up a movie trivia, which I love. I love Mr. Movie Trivia.
Welcome, Bronson.
Yeah, if you guys are just tuning in, you missed a reading of Freddy Krueger versus Santa Claus special that we did. It was a short story read by these wonderful people, and it was fantastic. Really great job reading that. To wrap this up, what holiday should Freddy Krueger invade next?
Easter.
Easter.
I was just going to say Easter. It's got to be Easter. Take that bunny out, man.
Easter would be great. I'd love to see Valentine's Day.
Freddy on Valentine's Day would be fun.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Or just one of those like
Holly, like the Festival of Colors, like some other kind of weird
like
holidays from other countries.
Like Labor Day,
Labor Day, Freddy Krueger on Labor Day.
Veterans Day, get a little patriotic,
July 4th.
So if they let me, if I ran the zoo and they let me do a Friday the 13th, which was yesterday, my Friday the 13th reboot, not a sequel, not a remake, not like, it's actually like a sequel from much later, but it's Crystal Lake is being redeveloped by rich people. They're turning it into a beautiful lake with big McMansions all around it. Nice. And they find a little cabin in the woods. They find a skull in there, and they're like, oh, fuck this. They toss the skull in the lake, bulldoze the house, build up all the mansions. Years later, the skull is obviously Jason's mom. That you see the skull float down to the bottom of the lake starts to bubble, and he turns into a swamp thing monster with his mom's skull, comes out of the lake and starts murdering people on the 4th of July.
I'd pay to see that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Good idea to me.
You do like a 4th of July Jason movie would be so much fun.
It'd be so fun.
I think Freddy, I love the idea of Easter. I think you could have, there's crossover potential. Freddy meets the Leprechaun if you did a St.
Patrick's.
I mean, of the characters, the Leprechaun is the closest to Freddy that we got next to Chucky.
Yeah,
which would be
totally.
like fantastic.
Totally. Chucky to this day. First of all, I loved the sci-fi series, Chucky. I thought it was great.
It's so good. It's so good. It's really fantastic. Really fun.
I still hold a grudge against Sci-Fi for canceling it.
Yeah,
I know.
On my birthday of all days.
How dare they? How dare they? I do some stuff with the horror festival out here called Scream Fest, and who's the Mancini? Is that his name?
Don Mancini. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They had just come out, or they were coming out with the Aubrey Plaza movie, Chucky. Remember that they did that movie Chucky, which was separate from him. And he was like, I'm actually in the works right now on something that's going back to how Chucky should be. And it was the sci-fi thing. And it was like, when it came out, I was like, he was fucking right. Don Man, of course he was right. It was him. And it was so good. It was so good.
To see Nika, what's the actress's name? Basically
Fiona Dourif.
Fiona Dourif. To see Brad Dourif's daughter, Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky, his daughter play him as a young version was insane.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
She is so good. Underrated actress all around.
Well, he's an underrated actor. He's a character actor. He's been in everything. I don't even know if you remember, like he was in Deadwood, like that Western TV show. I remember seeing him in that. I'm like, he's a sci-fi guy. What's he doing here? He's
he was in Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah. He was in the original Dune, like way back when, the one with
he was a goon in Blue Velvet. Just like a random goon. He didn't really have a lot of lines. He wasn't a big part. He's just like one of the henchmen. And you're like, that guy, love him in everything he does. Yeah, he's great.
So it makes sense that his daughter would be.
This was 2 years ago. First of all, we didn't talk about Strange Darling or XXX.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Both. Yeah. I didn't see Strange Darling yet, but
Strange Darling's great.
Max XXX scene was awesome.
Yep. And then just because we were talking about Bleak after Evil Lurks or whatever it was called, have you guys heard or seen the Evil, Dark, and Twisted or something like that? Wicked. I'm going to look up the name of it.
Wait, isn't that the movie about
the Zac Efron one?
It's not the Zac Efron one. The Dark, Twisted, Evil, Wicked. It's something... The Dark and the Wicked is what it was called. I think yes, yeah.
That is bleak.
This movie is bleak as shit, but there are some parts in it where, again, I'm like you, Chase, where I got I'm so desensitized to this shit now. But like, there were a couple moments in there. One just bleak as hell, but there were a couple moments in there that actually spooked me, which doesn't happen very often. Great movie.
I have a question for you guys. Since all of you are seasoned, horror movie consumers, what makes a movie good for you now? If you said you're desensitized, like what is it? Is it getting scared? Is it a believable story? Is it good acting? Like for you guys individually, we go around the thing. What actually makes a horror film like really good to you these days?
Great question. Great question. For me, is it? Because I'm not asking people to reinvent the wheel anymore. I'm so tired of people being like, we're reinventing the slasher. It's like, you don't need to. I watched a Friday.
We're doing it with all women this time, and they're all lesbians. Like, I'm sick of that shit. Like I just stop it right fucking now. Right?
I love a good movie, but you don't need to change what the formula is. Just plug in something I haven't seen before into the formula, or make me laugh about what makes the formula silly. Like a lot of people hated the movie Totally Killer, which was like a time travel.
I just watched that movie in like the past couple months. I loved that movie. I thought it was fun.
It is a by the numbers, paint by numbers slasher. It knows exactly what it is, but it's got time travel jokes in it, and it's not even good time travel jokes. It's just fun. And I was like, you know what? I had so much fun watching you. I'm not mad that you weren't even that good. Like that to me got higher marks than a movie that was trying its ass off to reinvent the wheel of a horror movie. And it's like, you just plug in the formula, but change the things that can be changed, because it's like a different killer, easy, done. Different characters that you get to kill, easy, done. Get creative with the kills. These aren't hard things to switch up. It's just, nobody knows what the formula, nobody remembers why the formula worked. And that's the thing that bugs me. So yeah, Totally Killer was so much fun. Really fun. Not even that great, but just so fun to to watch. So yeah,
And
to
what
me,
about you, Chase?
get fun.
What makes a horror movie good for you now?
Really story and performances. If it especially has a really original story, like The Substance was very original. That's actually my favorite film of the year. Long Legs, which told a great story, had a great twist, an outstanding performance from Nicolas Cage. Strange Darling, like you mentioned, was a really great film. I really loved that because a lot of people only really knew Willa Fitzgerald from Scream the series, and I remember her performance getting trashed and here she showed that she's actually a phenomenal actress, and it had a great twist, and it told it in the story in a very unconventional way where you don't even know what's really going on till towards the end of the movie. But yeah, if it's story wise, original acting, that really what sells me on a horror movie.
Got it. And last but not least,
It's it's really interesting. I think that we were talking about you said specifically like keep going into theaters because it's a collective experience and we all like collective experiences. I think that we've seen that horrors are almost single-handedly keeping the theater experience alive. It's like when the pandemic and nobody was seeing shit, people were still going to see horror movies. You know what I mean? Now that all these big tent poles are starting to wane a little bit, horror is still staying stagnant, and it's stayed stagnant in a good way. I mean, like consistent since the 80s. You know what I mean? And I think that the reason for that is there are so many different answers to this question, because I could be a person who wants to go and just like find a stupid slasher and just have the best time of my life eating popcorn, maybe drinking a beer and watching people get murdered. You know what I mean? Or I could be somebody who really wants to have my mind be played with and twisted. And so now I'm watching something like a Get Out, you know what I mean? Which is very thematically rich. Or I could be somebody who wants to go and watch something totally fucking campy that's so absurd. Or I could go and watch Terrifier, which is like, let's be honest, there's not really any story in Terrifier. It's just different scenes of him killing people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it knows exactly what it is.
Yeah. And so I think that it's such a hard question to ask because it just depends on what mood I'm in. Like
totally.
I can like almost any horror movie depending on what, like, if the thing that pisses me off, two things. One is kind of like you were talking about with The Omen, like, if you're giving me if you're messing with a really, really, held dear piece of IP, do not fuck it up. Do not fuck it up. That pisses me off. The second thing would be like you were talking about with Smile 2, Aaron, and with High Tension. I just need to know the rules of the world. If you give me the rules of whatever this monster can do, great. If you give me, I kind of felt like Smile 2 faded off from that because I didn't really know what the monster entity thing could do and couldn't do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I know the rules, I'm happy.
There's a great example of that of like, what are the rules? And it was the movie Men. I really like that director.
Yeah,
I really like what he does, but there's a movie that you're like, is it an allegory or is it really
I know
a monster?
Men was tough for me. I had a hard time with it because I didn't know what I was watching. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is happening?
Because if it's an allegory, that's fine. But you're also making it a very real thing that's happening. So what are the rules of the creature? And it's like, I'm not going to tell you.
No,
it's like, so you're just not going to tell me anything. You're just going to show me weird shit and pray I figure it out. Which that you can do that too.
Yeah.
I'd rather have to figure it out than have it be handed to me in a piker scene. I'd rather have to figure it out. So
100%. It's just I just want it to be figure outable. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to. Sure. I don't want to walk away and be like, it doesn't feel like this made sense with this and this. You know what I mean?
And there are a whole bunch of writers out there who you're like, did you even know? And they're like, tee hee hee, I didn't, and that's why I'm a genius. And you're like, no, you didn't do your homework, because I'd rather you have all this stuff in your head that you never put on screen, but you at least thought about it. Because like you listen to interviews with the guy who wrote Prometheus, and he's just like, I like answering questions, not providing answers. I like asking questions, not providing answers. And you're like, I'm not here to do your homework for you. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
what do you think, Teehee?
Yeah.
And you're like, stop it. Stop that right now.
I worked with a director on a project last year, and it ended up wonderful, and I fucking love the guy. He and I are good buddies. But this was the first time we'd worked together, and it's kind of like it's a thing that jumps in time a lot. And so like I was just asking him, I was like, so I just need to know, like, in this scene, what do I know? Right? Like, what does my character know? Like, where are we in time? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I don't know. That's a good question. I was like, he was trying to like get me to like live in this ethereal world of we don't know. And I was like, no. As a character, in order for me to act, I have to know what I know.
have to know this.
Yeah, it's like literally, if you go into a project, the first thing they're going to ask is, "What's my motivation?" And you can, like,
Right.
well, it's pretty simple, but it doesn't have to. Like, and that's the thing is, like, I don't think most people are expecting it to be wild. It doesn't need to blow my mind. It doesn't even have to be original. I just need to know what you want so that I can do it. You know,
dude, I think that's one. I remember when Piranha came out long ago, and everybody was like, "This movie's terrible." Blah blah blah. I went and saw it. I was like, "No, this movie knew exactly what the fuck it was."
That's how I was too. It was awesome.
Piranha was fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
it was
like,
awesome.
hey, you want to see fish eat people and see some boobs? Great, here you go.
There
And
you
you're
go.
like, oh, how did you know that's what I wanted? Thanks, movie. It's so funny to me that like people lose track of what audiences are there for. Like when people watch Godzilla, finally got it. Godzilla, the new Empire Mountain Dew blast to the face. That movie was like, hey, you guys want to see live action giant monsters fight each other for an hour and a half? I'm like, yes. Like, are you going to complain about the characters? I'm like, probably. And they're like, who cares? Let's go. And then they came in slamming. And I was like, that's what I wanted. How did you know, movie? And I think a lot of movies have completely forgotten that because they're like, characters are most important, or this is most important. It's like, there's got to be a balance. But if I'm there watching Godzilla versus Kong, the like 30th film in a franchise, I don't give a shit. I'm there to see monsters smash shit. The end.
Right.
You know, star power be damned. Thanks, Dan Stevens.
Love that.
So to wrap it up, first we got to do plugs. Jesse, what do you got going on? Where can people follow you? Do you want people to follow you? What do you got happening?
Yeah, please. All the followers are welcome, my friends. You can find me at jessesintowns.com, JESSESINTOWNES. And then you can see me actually twice on Peacock. I just had a movie release on Peacock as well. Very small part in that one. But the movie is Love at First Like, lifetime flick. And then the second is Wild West Chronicles, which you can also find on Peacock. I am in the second season, first episode actually. I'm in the first episode of the second season. So you can find me there on Peacock. I'm a Peacock boy.
I love it. That's awesome. Mel, what do you got going on?
Well, you can see me on the show Pet Stars on Netflix that I produced and star in. It's a reality series about the job I used to have working with animal influencers, which is a lot of fun. I have a short play that I wrote called A Woman's Worth that I'm currently developing for a podcast with Open Door Playhouse here in LA. That'll be coming out probably in the springtime. You can find me on Instagram at Melissa May C. And just working on a lot of different shows. Our show, The Deal, aka The Porn Play, came out this last year, and we're working with a couple of different theaters in Salt Lake City since it deals with pornography and sex and Mormons and, you know, all the seedy underbelly of that. So we're trying to get it up in Salt Lake City where we're from originally. So we have a couple people there that we're working with and just, you know, writing stories and trying to get them out there.
Well, it sounds like you were the perfect. It sounds like you should have been the producer on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. You like that show?
I should have been. I know. That's a very sensational. It's so funny. My husband and I, being from Salt Lake City, we laugh at all these shows that come out trying to sensationalize the Mormon experience and especially the Mormon polygamous experience because we grew up with those people and honey, they're not sexy. I'm telling you now, like they did like a national casting and like got the sexiest Mormon women they could ever find. But it's fascinating. And that's why I mentioned earlier, like the Hereditary Hereditary movie or Heretic movie or whatever, it was interesting to me for the Mormon aspect of it. Wasn't my favorite scary movie, but the Mormon aspect that they brought in was super fun. But yeah, all those housewives movies and Mormon stories and stuff. It's Mormons are big though, because they're doing a lot of like seedy stuff. I don't know if you know the Ruby Frankie story and all these Mormon moms that are like torturing their kids and shit. Like Mormons are in the news. Like, so, you know, it's hide and watch. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff.
Chase, give them the plugs, man.
Yes. First, Jesse, Mel, thank you both for coming on. This was a blast.
Thank you.
So you can follow me on Letterboxd, Blue Sky, everything at Oh Hey It's Chase. Just come here every Saturday. Hear me talk horror with you, Aaron, on Half Hour of Horror. You come back with next year. We're taking a 2-week break. So
yeah, this is the last episode of this year, but we will be back in January, ready to rock things off, do some fun stuff, and we'll start plugging what that schedule is going to be. You guys are both welcome anytime you want.
Yes,
you guys were
yes.
fantastic,
Fabulous.
and fun.
I was going to ask you a question. Have you guys done the Scream franchise yet? Have you guys talked about Scream?
No,
We
not
have
yet.
not, and we should.
Dibs.
All right. I was just turned down for Scream 7. Does that count?
Oh, sorry, Aaron.
Oh my God. I'll
They're
tell them-
lost. They're lost, honey. They're lost.
They don't even know, man. So I did the TV series. I was the VFX supervisor on the TV series, and have done a lot of work with Scream. Roger L. Jackson, the voice of Ghostface, does my trivia show. He calls in as Ghostface and
Amazing.
reads horror trivia. We do that at Comic-Con every year. It's been
And it's
really
top
fun.
notch
That's
trivia,
incredible.
by the
Yeah.
way. Like my adult daughter went to it one year thinking she was hot shit knowing stuff. And she was like, Mom, I didn't know one answer. Like, I thought I was going to know all this stuff. And she was like, holy shit. Like,
People-
yeah, it's some good trivia.
People get really frustrated with it because they're just like, they'll know part of it and they'll go, ah. And then like you get to the rest of the question, they'll be like, oh, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
you guys dig deep for
This
sure.
year we had a really good crew running, and it's Comic-Con, so everybody's dressed up. There's a guy dressed as Ash. He has a chainsaw for an arm, and he is doing a great job. He has a brain fart, gets kicked out. I feel so bad for this guy because the rest of the night he's like, damn it, I knew that one. And he keeps raising the chainsaw, and you're like, chainsaw. And it was like, dude, I get it. You were going to crush this. You had one brain fart. And the question he forgot was like, what was the name of the motel in Psycho? And he just, and I was like,
yeah.
oh man, it's the name of a TV series. And it's just, it happens to everybody. I
It's
think if
just
somebody,
you're on the spot.
you're put on the spot, you're in front of everybody, you get asked a question, your brain just goes,
Mhm.
It's like he wouldn't even known his birthday if I had asked him at that point. It happens, guys. It happens. But yeah, you can follow us here, Half Hour of Horror. Of course, the Block of Horror, our gracious hosts for all of those inside the theater right now. We appreciate you guys. Stick around after the show. We have a movie screening and talking with the directors and everybody who and some of the people who worked on that. Brought to us by Red Tower Entertainment. We really appreciate all of those guys. So stick around for a Q&A after the show. With some filmmakers and to watch a cool short. So that'll be awesome. And then, of course, we got to give away some blood coin, something we do for all the followers on the Block of Horror. We're giving away double blood coin because it's Christmas. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. The code for today's blood coin, I got to pop up the banner here. Last week, the blood coin word was Santa. So this week it's going to be Freddy because why not? Show. There it is. Blood coin Freddy. There you go. Type that. Go to the Discord, open up the ticket, put in that thing. You will get double blood coin this weekend. And join the Block of Horror in our Discord for more conversations. And then, of course, you can follow me on my other podcast, the Launchpad Podcast bi-weekly show. We just released our interview with Jeff Leob, where I embarrassed myself more than I've ever done in my life because we were dying to get this interview. We were begging him to get this interview. And then halfway through the interview, my Zoom recorder breaks. So you get to see the look of disappointment on his face. Real horror, where he looks at me and is like, amateur. And you're just like, oh, he didn't say it, but I could feel it. But we fixed it. He finished the interview. He was very gracious and a really nice guy and very interesting. So great interview with comic book royalty, Jeff Loeb. So thanks, everybody. Until next time. See you next year.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
guys.